Hello, this is to help those of you who are interested in the tape yarns or flat yarns or ribbon yarns. This is JoAnn Sensations Flounce, spirited tape yarn that frills. So it's tape yarn, flat yarn, whatever you want to call it. What it does is it flattens out. It's not a round yarn and not a conventional yarn. You're not going to grab the whole piece and knit that way because it defeats the purpose of the flatness of it. So what you have is a ribbon yarn, and this yarn calls for size 4, and I think it said double points. I've always used it with double points, so I assume it needs double points. So that's what I've got here is my size 4 double pointed needles. And on this yarn, when you feel it, there's kind of a smoother side versus a not so smooth side. And I consider that the right side and the wrong side. That's just my own personal preference. You may or may not feel the same way about it as I do, but I just prefer to do it that way so that I can kind of keep an eye on it. When you use this, you can kind of see the wrong side also when you pull it kind of tight, how it curls in. It curls into the wrong side. So what I do when I start this is I will fold this end piece over to kind of keep it from unraveling. So I'll fold it over, and when I fold it over, I've kind of got kind of a prettier edge because I like my edges pretty. Especially I gave a few of these away for Christmas last year. So I like to kind of keep that edge flat. And the only person that's ever going to notice it is me or another knitter. It just depends on, you know, who's paying attention. To start this, what you do is you stab the yarn. So you're going to come in probably, I don't know, maybe 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch, depending on how far in you want to go. And you're going to stab this yarn. Usually, you're going to start from back to front. The reason is because it gives you the same arch as you would get when you're knitting with regular yarn. So this is just for the cast on. Let's get my big thumb out of the way. Do you see how the arch, when you knit, the arch is always this way, unless you're knitting different ways, but typically you're working from the right side over here. So you're going to go from back to front, and then you're going to kind of position your fingers about the distance that you want it. So I pretty much keep my fingers in the same place, and then I'm going to reach around and stab from back to front again. And then I'm going to hold it down, and then I'm going to go underneath, bring this underneath to the front, and then I'm going to stab it again. You see how that works? I usually like about 6 to 8 inch wide scarves, so I'm going to do 10, although I already lost count. So you just go back to front underneath, and that's going to give you your starting row. Let me see where I'm at with that. Now, one of the tricks to this is not going too shallow. If you stab up here too shallow, it's going to get too, I think it gets too stretchy. But, you know, it may work out for you. You can stab it anywhere you want. You could even stab it in the middle. I mean, even some people can fold it in half and stab it both sides and then make a double frill here. But it's entirely up to you. I personally like how wide the frills are going this way. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's go one more. So back to front again. And we have 10 stitches. So what I'm going to do is turn it. When I turn it, I'm going to go into my yarn as if to knit like I normally would. So you can see that there's already the hole there, and it's the same direction as knitting. And you're just going to go in for knitting. So you've got your needles in the way you want to. Now the tricky part is to figure out your distance and stab the yarn again. And then you're just going to pull it through to knit. And then you are going to, you know, go in for knitting, go into the front, through the back, and make sure you don't split your, you see how I initially split that. You want to go into the same hole that your other needle's in, give it a distance from here to here, and then grab your yarn and stab it again, and then knit it. So we've knit that one. So through for knitting, stab, pull through. Stabbing again and pull through. If you don't go through the wrong hole when you bring it back through, you'll have a pretty stretchy, kind of fun scarf or whatever you end up making out of this. And when you do that, or when you know, it's stretchier that way. If you go through the wrong one, you're going to kind of have a tight spot right there, which most people won't notice. And if you can see, sometimes the yarn likes to curl. It's kind of frustrating. So you have to kind of make sure you keep that flat as you work, or else you'll end up twisting your yarn, and that's going to kind of create a... You'll notice it. It's not something that isn't noticeable by yourself, but it's probably not noticeable by somebody you're giving it to who's never knitted before. So you just keep going through, and you flatten out your yarn, and you stab at the distance that you planned on, and you just pull it off the needle. Now, when you get back to where you cast on that fold, make sure you don't forget to go through both. You have that fold right there, go through both, and reach through, stab your yarn again, and pull it through. So there you have 2 rows, and you can see it kind of ruffles from side to side. That's the bottom, and when you get to the top, it will work out to be, it's going to stagger on both sides all the way around. It's going to have these ruffles, which is really fun and neat and warm. I've worn these myself, and I had a fun time with them. So everybody compliments, and I personally like my neon green one. That's my favorite. These don't take very long. 2 balls will usually, well, of the flounce from JoAnn's, there's 26.25 yards in this, and I can do 2 for a child's scarf or 3 for an adult scarf, and it just depends on how wide you want it. Like I said, I did 10 stitches because that's my own preferred length. And then once it is finished, when it stretches out, it kind of narrows out around your neck. So you know, I like to wrap mine around 2 or 3 times for my own personal scarf. But so that's how you work with the JoAnn's Flounce or any other ribbon type flat yarn. And good luck.